It was said in older times that there were men, some old, some young, who could dream things. Things that seemed bigger and more complicated than themselves. Secrets of the universe. Unfortunately, since this was older times, women were barred from such activities. Thanks, sexism. The importance of dreams is seen in nearly every culture, from the Old Testament of the Bible, like in the story of Joseph and the coat of many colors, to the Australian Aboriginals and their complex semi-mythological concept of the dream time. Dreams are complex stories woven through the fabric of the mind, seeming to transcend space and time and warp every aspect of our nighttime reality. From prophecies to nightmares to that one strangely vivid reoccurring dream about a red antelope playing the saxophone very poorly, dreams are often hard to understand. Those who were said to be able to interpret and understand them were sought after in the highest regard, and far too often, good or bad dreams led many to make rash decisions which had dire consequences on the fabric of history. Take, for example, the Roman Emperor Constantine, who dreamt a vision of a Chi Rho, an early symbol of Christians, the night before a major battle. After ordering his soldiers to paint the symbol on their shields, he won the battle and converted to Christianity. Now, while this story is certainly more nuanced and the dream was not everything, it is very telling that such a story has persisted throughout time. Even today, we still don't fully understand what causes dreams, or really what they are. They can be normal life experience, just another day in life, or they can be a cryptic mess without any rhyme or reason. But sometimes, there's something in between. Holding that thought, let me talk a little about myself for a moment. I'm a young man in America, raised in the Christian tradition, specifically the LDS faith. That's Mormons for the rest of you folks. And to quickly answer some common questions, no, we don't have devil horns. No, we don't keep multiple wives. And yes, shocking as it may seem, we don't drink coffee. However, while Christianity may be the bedrock of my faith, I have long since expanded my view beyond just those philosophies and teachings, in my ever quest for more and more knowledge. So it is in this context that I introduce the main focus of this video. Yeah, so dreams are weird, and I can't quite tell you where exactly the dream began or where it ended, but I can certainly tell you what happened between those points. In the dream, I was merely an onlooker to a most unforgettable scene, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, which is a fabulous way to start a sentence. With Easter seasons upon us, however, now seems like the most fitting time to say such a thing. Anyhow, in the scene, Jesus was not alone. Surrounding the hill, which was all dotted in brown and gold, overcast with a lighting of shadow that would put even the greatest painter to shame, was a rambunctious crowd that would equally put the most rowdy group of American tourists to shame. Indeed, just as an aside, while preparing this video, I found a painting of the scene on Calvary Hill that looks eerily similar in many ways to the very scene I saw within the dream. Here it is, Jerusalem, by Jean-Léon Giraud. In the dream, this crowd, dressed in the clothes of the time, stood mocking, jeering, and shouting at the singular cross atop the hill, the other crosses same in the scene having now disappeared. Much like a painting, the figures were frozen in time, while the darkness continued to assail ever closer and more intruding, engulfing the world and the deafening roar of the crowd until it was gone, until only the hill remained, until there only remained the lonely cross on that lonely hill, the one called Christ on Calvary, cast against the circle of shadow all around him. It was here in this scene I began to hear a voice speak. Turning to gaze upon the figure, I saw there the one called the Buddha, gray as a statue and equally solemn, though very much alive. I do not recall the exact words, or even if they were tangible words that I could understand, but the meaning ran as surely as anything I have ever felt. As he approached the cross, unconcerned with the frozen crowds or shroud of darkness, he spoke to seemingly not the suffering Jesus, nor to I, but to himself, or perhaps the whole of the universe. In retrospect, his soliloquy was short, though it felt like hours in the dream. Life is suffering, as this man has shown. Few have suffered as much as he does now, or as he has all his life. There is such a power that could release him, save him from all of this. He could be spared, a soul as good as his own, and few would argue that he did not deserve it. And yet, he will do no such thing. He will suffer this burden. He will breathe his final breath, and he will die. He will die shamed and ridiculed and outcast, brutally tormented and bruised beyond repair. And though he could be saved, and though even I could save him, no such thing will happen. Because for this he shall be called the Redeemer, and he shall give all men hope in a way no miracle ever could. And with that, the Buddha left, the darkness relented, time resumed, and Jesus died. Many of you, I imagine, are not religious. I'm not here to convert you if that is the case. But, while I am no prophet, I believe there are some telling signs within this dream. Regardless if this was some vision of a real event or something my mind made up, it represents to me a key message that is bigger than all of us. Luctor et emergo, an old Latin proverb that translates roughly to, I struggle and I emerge. It was a phrase a teacher told me once that I have never since forgotten, and especially after this dream, it has effectively become the motto of my life. Regardless of whether you believe Christ atoned for our sins or not, there is an undeniable beauty in the story of a man who laid down his life and everything he had for the principle of defending his common man, not just that of his time, but of all time. Call it naive or foolish idealism, I call it principles. I call it goodness. I call it Henosis. If you, like me, want to find out more about what that is, then join me, and let's figure it out together. This has been the Henosite. I hope to see you next time, but until then, signing off.